We are going to begin. And so just so you know, this is being recorded. We have two microphones, and we have a question. You don't have to go up to the microphone.
Yeah.
It's carrying this whole area.
Yeah, just talk from your seats.
Yes. So I'm glad you're here tonight. You survived the Blizzard 2026, or at least so far. And so I just want to go over a couple of things, and then we'll open up in prayer. First of all, anybody have not received this? Okay, there you go. Anybody else want to make sure everybody got a packet? Okay. Really, I think the heart of tonight, 4 goals that we, when we thought about these Q&A sessions, really 4 goals, and I wrote them down because I can't remember everything, is number 1 is for everyone within our church to gain clarity on the why and the what. And hopefully if you were there on Sunday, there was a lot of the why, some of the what also is in the info booklet as well. But we want to make sure that everyone within our church has the availability to gain clarity on the why. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing it this way? And then the what, if the details of tonight, of this project. The main goal tonight is for you to ask questions. And for us in leadership to give the answers that we have. And we'll be honest, if we don't have that answer, we'll either try to get it to you, or we will just say we don't know yet. And so I'm going to ask for some grace, because obviously this size of a project with 2 initiatives, there are still things that we haven't figured out. But we have figured out a lot. And so hopefully we can answer most of your questions tonight. The third thing that's really important to me is that we just want to be completely transparent. We want you to know as much as you can know and want to know about what's going on, what our vision is, and our initiatives. And so we want to be as transparent as possible. Again, the only reason we wouldn't be transparent tonight would be to simply say we don't know. And so we can't tell you what we don't know yet. And then the 4th thing, and you're going to hear me say this a lot throughout this campaign and moving forward, is we hope that tonight will bring unity as a result of clarity. And clarity does bring unity. Think about all the times that you struggle in your family or your relationships or at work. It's usually a lack of clarity that causes that tension. And so we really want to hopefully accomplish tonight that when you leave here tonight, you will have clarity and there will be unity about what God's doing among us. The format, if you have a question, just raise your hand. I'll try to get to everybody. If some other leaders in the room, make sure that I'm getting to everybody. I'm going to ask you to just stand. You don't have to go anywhere, but just stand so that everyone can hear you. And this is maybe a weird thing, but just for our benefit and for everyone else's benefit, just give your name, just to help us get to know you better, get to know each other better. Give us your name, and then you can ask a question. And then if the answer that was given, you're like, I'm not sure that really, just ask for a follow-up question. Because we don't want to spend 20 minutes answering your question and then not really answering your question. And so let us know in the moment. And then what we're going to do is, so that everyone has an opportunity, 1 question per person at one time. Meaning, Jonathan can't ask 25 questions and just rattle them off. And so we get to no one else. So if you have a lot of questions, ask 1 question, and then somebody else, my guess would be having a similar question, so pay attention to what everybody else is asking. And then if you want to raise your hand again, you can ask unlimited questions, but 1 per person per time, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to open up this time in prayer, and then we will get going. God, I thank you for tonight. God, I pray that your Spirit is here tonight. I'm confident your Spirit is here. Your word says that where 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, and we are here in your name. So God, I pray tonight, as I'm praying every day, and have for months, I'm praying for a spirit of unity. God, we know in big things like this, Satan wants to get his hands into this and divide us and confuse us. So God, I pray that we would be unified, that we be one in heart and one in mind. It doesn't mean we agree on everything, but that we come out of this one in heart and one in mind. And I pray for a spirit of clarity, that tonight that the questions will bring some clarity, the answers will bring some clarity to the why and the what of forward in faith. And God, I pray for your spirit of power, that you would work in each and every one of our hearts as we process all of this and what it means for us individually. God, we pray for your power to be revealed by way of miracles. Miracles in our own lives and miracles in the life of this church by the resources that you will provide to accomplish these two initiatives. God, we pray all of this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. So we're just going to open it up. And any questions you have, I'm assuming at this point most of you were either here on Sunday, have seen the message from Sunday, and then have read some of your booklet. If there's something in the booklet we do have that we can all visually see, if there's something that's like, oh, I don't remember us having that in there, we can maybe potentially look at that in there. But really, all questions are on the table tonight. And so we just want to give it up again. Raise your hand and then stand on up, introduce yourself, and give us your question. Yep.
Why not start?
Thanks.
Because I got a list of them. First one's just really.
Who are you?
I know.
What's your name again?
What's your name?
Resident troublemaker. No, just real curious.
John, what is your name?
He said it.
Oh, sorry.
We all missed it over here.
We all missed it. We all missed it. We all missed it over here. Thank you. All right. John.
That last name could be a bad name right now. So
There's a chilling effect. So we're going to have, in essence, 3 separate buildings. I'm wondering why the new building is not connected to the old building that is currently the office. And my thoughts around that are, you've got extra walls now that you got to maintain. There's going to be all kinds of crud that gets in that breezeway. It's not going to get any sunlight effectively. So it just seemed curious from a design standpoint that you wouldn't somehow connect those.
anybody from the building team or design team want to? Yeah.
I believe part of it was because once you touch inside the office, we would have to update it to code, and it is certainly not near anything to code.
That was what I was thinking.
There is an option to bring that to code in the estimate, but we wouldn't have to if we didn't go in there and do work in there.
Okay.
I think that was our number one coming out of the design concept reason why we weren't physically, while we thought a overhang, whatever you call it, connector would be an easier thing where we wouldn't have to necessarily do anything with that building.
Yeah, just gonna be weird, but okay. In my opinion.
Other questions? I'm assuming you came here to ask some questions, not just hear what everybody else is asking.
Jeff Nickerson. So, right now the timetable for the groundbreak is fall of 2026. What are the contingencies? What are the plans in regards to keeping services and everything, activities every Sunday going here? Are we looking at another space, or are we going to stay here?
Anybody want to answer that question? Leadership-wise? This is a good question, and we have talked about that.
Jeff, very good question. I asked it first in a staff meeting months ago. So, wicked smart.
Yes, you are.
As I understand it, we're doing 3 phases. First phase is the exterior building. Once that's complete, we're going to work on the interior of this current building, and then we'll move temporarily into our brand new state-of-the-art space for worship and group meetings and stuff like that. So none of the ministry operations will be interrupted. And then the third phase will mess up youth group a whole bunch, but I'm very flexible, so we'll be just fine.
So just a point of clarification, my name's Doug Morris, and I'm on the building committee with a couple of the other individuals here. So part of what our process will be over the next 3, 4, 5 months is to come up with a plan for this very thing, right? So the only reason I'm bringing it up is because Johnny said we're not going to have issues, and we're not going to have this, and we're not going to have that. And construction is about issues and managing them, okay? So biggest piece of the pre-construction piece, before we go to contract and before we go to actual construction, is figuring this out. So, again, there will be some curveballs that arise, and it's how we deal with them as a group, okay? So just to clarify that point.
Yep, good. And to add to that, each company that the building team, if you're a part of the building team, can you just raise your hand? I think we only have 2 here tonight. We have 5 people who are members, but tonight they can answer a lot of those questions. They are in the interview process. We've gotten bids from 5 companies. And so all of them were asked to design or have in their plan, like how to keep us functioning as best we can. I think the key word that Doug is referring to is flexibility. And we'll have seasons where we have to be incredibly flexible. The goal, though, is to keep as much things like worship services and kids stuff and stuff throughout the week as much as possible. Maybe a little bit different, but as much as possible, not to have to move off-site. So, yep.
Every contractor will develop a logistics plan and a phasing plan and a safety plan and a protection plan, and all of them will try to sell us on the point of not being disruptive. But we know better, but that each one will give us their plan, and we'll look at the viability of it, speak to it, ask them to address it, fine tune it, and we'll be asking a lot of questions in due course. Most of these, if not all these contractors have worked on existing operating spaces, so it's not foreign to them. So they know the drill. Yeah,
Good question.
yeah.
Did that answer your question? Other question? Yeah, Joe.
Hi, I'm Joe. How will you address parking? How does the expansion of the building create more issues or less issues with parking?
I can speak to that one.
Okay.
Michael here. So I have a very large backyard that my family is able to use in the parsonage next door. There's going to be a marked reduction in size of that backyard for which to use to park vehicles on Sunday mornings, which I think is probably the most responsible possible usage of that amount of green space. So that's going to be where a big part of the parking comes from. Obviously, we don't have infinite space on this lot, but that's going to be where a at least meaningfully decent chunk of parking is going to come from.
Well, can I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
Give us a number then. I mean, you didn't give us any numbers in that. I mean, you're gonna have 40% additional capacity, you're gonna be
Yep.
attracting more people, but, what do you mean? Your backyard is what, 20 spaces, 10, 15?
Yeah, I think the original design, I think, I don't remember that number. Do you remember this?
I believe.
Well, so here's the, Bob Walter. So there's 2 pieces to the parking. The entire existing parking lot is gonna get essentially reset. So the angles go away. We're actually gonna pick up spaces. We have a couple spaces that are our property at the back left corner over here. So we pick up those. We actually pick up some spaces by re-outlining everything. And I forget how many, I wanna say 8, I'm gonna throw 8 or 10 out-ish.
Just by
8 or 10.
re-
Just by existing bang. There's a couple other spots where we're gonna pick up some small parking. And then I forget how many I thought it was.
If you think about the green grass on right next to our White House, Michael's house, is all of that would be then parking. So there's even more than
Right, it's coming up
what
with the
was.
picture right now.
Yeah. So there's basically right here, all of this right here would be parking. That is not.
It's also showing like a little grass.
They're not showing that. Yeah, that they're not showing that on the it's on the still photos, the floor plan. But it's not showing on that. That's not.
I believe the numbers on the floor plan, which I don't know if those are current numbers, but the numbers on what Annam gave us said that we're going from 115 to 128.
Yeah, 13 edition.
113 to
And
128.
that was without using, I believe, your space.
Yeah, Anims did not include your.
Yep.
your space.
What is Michael's add then?
Again, the green space and with his backyard, that's a substantial amount. If you remember, we added about 11 spaces 2 falls ago, if you remember that, and that wasn't that big of a section. So, you know, we're not talking like 3 or 4 spots. That is a big concern with the architect. We pushed him more and more. This fly-through does not include, what it's showing is not accurate with the parking. And then, but trust me, we feel the pain of our parking. That was one of the first things that we met with the architect about. One of that first meetings with the architect, the challenge we have on our space is something's going to give because we just don't have, so obviously, as you can see, not a lot of green, but we're going to maximize our green, so it's not just all concrete. But trust me, parking will be addressed and increased enough to be able to. And there's also a coding issue too with that. Like we have to have a certain amount of with our capacity and our square footage. That's above my pay grade that the building team will work with, but. We definitely have to add parking because we're adding square footage. So, but it's a good question. We don't have a final answer on that because the architect. Now remember, these are just concept drawings, renderings. They're not blueprints. Once we get to the blueprints, we'll have more detailed numbers. But we have some things that aren't showing on the fly-through. Of our plans to get more parking. Did that answer?
Yes.
Terry.
Terry Klein, John. Talking about the parking a little bit more, we do have to have a certain number here legally. We do have Winslow's. As far as we know, that's going to be available in the future. We also have the parking at 132 Central, which we have a very good relationship with the people there. They're very willing to let us use that. And so those are kind of our backups, for the time being.
And I would just add to that, my name's Brooke Stevens, that we're probably going to have to lean on that a lot because during construction, I have no idea what it's going to look like because there's going to be fenced off areas and equipment and stuff, so it'd
Trailer spaces.
be painful during, but it'll be great after.
Yeah. And I mean, complete transparency. Staying on this property, we will always have parking issues. We could have done more parking and less interior building size. But the team that worked with the architect decided we need to definitely increase our parking, but our building space, we obviously need it as well, so. Good question. Yep.
Nate Pusey, is everything within the zoning and like, would we have to go to the town for any of that?
That's all wrapped up in the process for the building. Again, our building team, well, somebody, you guys can speak to that. It's all wrapped up in it.
Terry made a good point, because I know parking, the town has bylaws that you have to follow, and if you don't follow it, you have to get a variance.
So for sure, there's a permit application process, right, that has to go through the town. That's, any in Massachusetts requires that. So there may be a question or two that comes up with that. I can't answer that.
And these guys won't say it, but what you really need to know, because I've told a couple of people this already, I don't know if you're assuming like I'm part of this building team and I have no clue what I'm talking about. So I would be scared if your pastor is leading or helping lead even a part of this team. The 5 members of this team, I don't know how many years. Did you guys ever figure that out?
I'm 31, so
I
whatever
mean,
you are, Ken.
probably.
25.
So just between 2 guys, 56 years.
I counted 100, right?
We're probably, yeah. I mean, these 5 guys, and they won't, well, they might say it individually, but probably not to say it like this. These are professional experts that do this for a living. And so it's not like, Does Steve really know what he's doing? No, not with building, okay? Does Luke, does any of our staff? No. And so we have been blessed with 5 people who do this. They know exactly what to ask, what to look for. My first meeting with these guys, I'm like, listen, I trust you guys, and I'm empowering you to do what God's called you to do with that. So you can feel very comfortable that someone is not a part of that team who doesn't know what they're doing. These are professionals from our church who will represent our church really, really well. And I'm hyping you guys up, so don't disappoint us. No, but these guys are professionals, what they do. So they will. Things won't fall through the cracks on big items like that. It'll make sure that it happens. So.
And one more question. And
Oh, he's already breaking the law.
He gets a waiver, he gets a waiver.
No grace for that.
It's a grace waiver.
Okay, we'll go. Get a cookie.
Matt Daniels, my question is about, I guess, Steve, a little bit what you just said, not being on the building team, like, directly, so to speak. Is there so I'm thinking, so there's the building team, which is construction, permits, construction, building schedules, all that sort of stuff. Is there a process or a cadence that's ongoing between the building team and church, I'll say church leadership, to make sure that our designs and our implementation of the new building is coming to fruition to get like the outcomes we're trying to get out of this from like an experience perspective, like new person perspective, all the workflow, all the like workflows that happen in the church, like small group meetings. Are we getting what we want out of that with the new space? Are we getting the kids' experience that we want? Those types of things from an outcome perspective. Is there a
It's a very good question.
an alignment loop going on?
Yeah, let me just tell you, part of that building team, outside of the 5, there is a Mike Moulton right over here, who is our facilities manager. He is going to be in those key times, especially when we start the actual work being done, so that he'll be able to manage what we can do and what we can't do, and all of what's happening and what's shut down and what's not functioning. There are 2 elders on that team as well, on the building team. And so those elders, along with Mike, will be working with staff and leadership to make sure, we did make it clear from the very beginning, that first meeting with the building team is, when it comes to like vision or the design concept, they are not decision makers. They are not making decisions about like, hey, here's the vision of this. They are the implementation people of that. And so as we go through, as Doug mentioned, the next 4 to 5 months will be blueprints and stuff. Staff and key leaders will certainly will play a part in that. We'll be invited to be a part of those, because right now it's just a concept design, and hopefully the blueprints will reflect that as much as possible. But that's where you get into the really nitty gritty of stuff. And key volunteers and staff will be a part of some of those conversations with the building team. And then financially, there will be an accountability from the building team to the elders, to the staff as well with that. Hopefully.
I think that, like, so basically all the ministry leaders and church leaders are going to have direct involvement in ensuring that as things are progressing, their goals are going to be met in the, basically through the implementation process. Am I saying that correct?
Yep. Because the blueprints will be, the word's not final, but pretty final. It's what the company will use to construct everything.
Yeah, just making sure that like every ministry leader is like, hey, wait a second, my vision of tomorrow is this, and this blueprint is showing the opposite of that. What are we going to do to fix it?
Those meetings have not been set yet, but I think once we get a company, those absolutely will happen.
Okay. All right.
Yep. It's a good awareness of that to make sure. Kent?
Yeah. Just to respond to that, thank you, that's a great question. Right now, we're in conceptual design. The conceptual design that Ann provided was an expression of what you all said from a ministry perspective. So the intentionality is to follow that pathway until we can't. And then the constructability of it will be understood once we get into the actual construction document phases. And just to give you a little more insight, if you're not aware, there's a conceptual design, there's a schematic design, there's a design, development design, which has all the soft, touchy-feely color, carpet, space, all that stuff. And that'll always be fun for people to talk about, right? And then there's construction documents. So we may not go through all those phases. The firms that we're looking at are actually design-build firms that will come and look at the design and put together their thoughts about the design.
Right, yeah.
We will select one of those relative to cost and design and intentionality and all of that. And then once we get to the structural side is the structural side's the structural side, but the internal design and space, all of that type of stuff, we'll want some feedback on that, clearly. And they'll listen to that because they're a design, build, general contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's great. Thank you.
All right?
Yeah.
Great.
Jeff, and then we'll come back up here.
Jamie had a question.
What's that?
Jamie had a question.
Okay.
Yep.
Jamie Walter. So I'm an OT by trade, so I'm thinking about mobility and, ADA type stuff. And just looking at the schematics, it looks like a significant amount more walking required to get into the church and to your seat. And so I'm wondering, what are our thoughts as far as folks getting into the church and then to their spot in church? And are there any thoughts or plans about that?
It's a great question. I think the distance probably is going to be from the parking lot to the sanctuary will be further because you're adding a little bit of space. It will feel further because you're actually going through. Think of it this way: when you're getting to the green space, you're still walking that distance. You're just now going through a building, and you might have to move a little bit, but from let's say from the parking,
Pick a spot.
like this parking right here.
Yeah.
Right now, this isn't here, but you're still walking that distance to get in there. Now you are coming a little bit this way and walking up that way, so there is a little bit more of a distance there. It will feel a little bit longer just because now you're walking through something as opposed to just out in the open. I can't really speak other than the big thing that we loved during the design concept was the not having to go upstairs to get into the sanctuary. And personally, we felt like it was a game changer for some of our people. And you don't even have to, although our elevator will be elevated quality-wise. But
It'll be a real elevator.
yes. But people really wouldn't need it because they don't have to go up steps. So that was probably the big thing. We really didn't talk about distance as much. So it depends on where you park. There is going to be more parking over here if you think about it. So, and the handicap will be right here. But the entrance, if you're parking in this area over here, actually either be closer or just about the same distance. Again, it will feel probably more just because you're walking through something.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the weather now, and you've got a walker, and you're trying to go up that long,
Yeah, but again, if you're thinking someone here, they have to walk all that way.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it seems like a lot more only because you're going through another building. But distance probably isn't.
You'll be drier faster.
And there is a side one, right? There is a, if you're parking over here,
And the grade is.
that would be a better. Yeah, there's a secondary entrance that would get you in, especially if you park on this side. Again, depends on where you park.
Yeah, come on.
Jeff,
So part of the question goes to what Kent was just talking about. On Sunday, you brought the elephant in the room, 7.5. Where does that number come from if we haven't gotten bids? And is the bids gonna be in regards to inflational overrun costs? Do you guys put a number or percentage of those bids for that contingencies?
Yep. So we have 5. What's that?
Yep.
I'm not, he didn't stand up, I'm not. We have five proposals from 5 different GCs. At this time, and that's all we're gonna get, okay? So they have priced the schematic set of drawings that we do have. There has been, I can't tell you how many hours I have into this, talking to people, explaining things, talking through what we're doing, why, what to carry. We as a building team sat and said, hey, here's our 5 numbers. We have them leveled, what I call apples to apples across the board, because everybody gives their numbers in specific ways, and maybe this guy gives his up here and I give mine down here, so I'm trying to figure out where the numbers are. We then sat as a team and put our mind and our thought together and said, wait a minute, people are playing some games with this, let's elevate this number a little bit, let's put a little bit more money here. AV, we're getting some information, let's add to that, right? So at the end of the day, we do have what we decided is a number, and then on top of that, we have a 10% contingency. So that is all in that number that went to Steve and that he presented. And again, I know there's other things in there, but the building alone is not the number that Steve shared, right? There's other things going on.
But we do have proposal bids for the work. It's not like we just came up with it.
For sure.
I mean, trust me, a lot of numbers. A lot of numbers. So we have, this is not a going blindly number. Okay, we've been waiting for a while.
Like, it kind of relates, it's a numbers. So I know it's not all estimate now, but like what percent is the new actual building versus the upgrades to the current building versus the plant? So like, kind of
75, 25?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, and the key there, and just because I just didn't have time on Sunday, and this is such a great point, because we are renovating this space, this whole building needs to be up to code. And so an elevator, which we wanted anyway, but we have to get a real elevator. We do not have a sprinkler system in this entire building. And so to the existing building, that's a lot of money. I was, when I first was told, I was like, oh, that can't be a lot of money, but it is a lot of money. $500,000 for an existing building. And so that's not a fun number to take in, right? But look at it this way, and this is how I've resolved it for me, is this allows us to be sustainable in this building for a long time. Imagine us having a major fire in this building without a sprinkler system. And so this really does set us up. I think we'd all agree we would want a sprinkler system. We would want everything to be up to code. And because we've been grandfathered in, because of the age of our building, but because we're touching this building and the structure of it, it has to be up to code on everything. And that has all been part of the proposals and considered. And that's a big number. That's not just a couple, $100,000. It's probably with everything, probably $1 million or close to it. Everything that we need to get to code here. So that is a big portion.
25%'s the code upgrades to, or 25%'s the upgrades to this building?
No.
And then 70.
And when we say upgrades, most of that is getting it up to code.
So
Like-
let me just touch on that. What I heard you ask was what percentage of the $7 million, let's just say that's the number, is the new building versus the cost for the renovation?
Correct.
And I said it's probably 75% for the new building, 25% for the existing. That was my answer to your question.
Yeah, got it.
As far as the church plant goes, that is, if you want to, Luke did come, when we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, the main thing to think about this is, now I'm going to blow it, it's been a long day, Luke, that phrase that you have.
Oh, yes, I remember.
There we go. I'm just highlighting Luke here for a second. There we go, Luke.
Equal initiatives, not equal costs.
Yeah. So obviously this, it makes sense that building is going to cost a lot more, and the church plant, internally we are working on some MOUs between the leadership of Emmanuel and Luke and the church plant, myself, to make sure that they're all agreed upon with that. But the goal is to set up this church plant to really lean pretty heavy on what we're going to be helping them financially for startup costs and salaries. And that number has some number to do with, there's a low end and there's a cap, there's a minimum, maximum. But I don't want to give those numbers only for the fact of it's based on our projections of how much we're going to raise and all that kind of stuff. So, but obviously it's not comparing, it's like comparing apples and oranges, that the cost of a church plant is not the same as the cost of building something in construction. Because the church plant's they're not getting their own building. They're not building something from day one. So, did that answer that question? Yes.
Debbie Snow. So, talking about the church plant, because that was going to be my question, are we looking at purchasing or renting an existing building, and are we looking, what's the time frame for when we hope to have that church plant up and running?
Good question. So Luke Proctor, 6 Sherman Road. So the church plant will rent space. We actually are talking to someone now. First person we asked, it might work out. It'd be great. And then we will have our first worship service on January 3rd, 2027.
Yes.
Wendy Mulster, how did you decide on, I think you said the Westwood, Dover, whatever that Medfield region?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a very specific reason why you're choosing that?
Yes. So there were 2 factors into that. One is reaching the Boston suburbs, so which is where my wife Dana is from. It's like where we chose to live. So it's been a place in our heart for a long time. So we looked at a few towns around I-95. The second factor is based off people who came forward and said, I want to be part of this. Where do they live? And then I guess the final factor is these towns can be very kind of, not insular, but just, they're all about the town.
I live in one of those towns.
Okay,
so
great.
I-
So then the issue is, if it's too far away and no one lives there, would it feel strange? So like Medfield Westwood is kind of the upper limit of where we could go to where it wouldn't feel like, man, these people are driving 30 minutes into our town and starting a church. So those are kind of the factors there. It's a great question. Yeah.
Probably at least 6 months, if not longer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've been,
9 months maybe at least.
Right.
Of trying to really, and Luke has really been the lead on that. Is as a church planner, it needs to be a calling that God has put on his heart, not us just saying this is where we want to plant a church.
Yeah.
So great
Can I
question.
ask a follow-on question?
Sure, we got Grace.
You can go on and I'll.
No.
You got the waiver.
So I live in Westwood. So
Okay, great.
I have been driving 30, 40 minutes to get to a church for a long, long time. So, and you're right, most people won't do that. But I'm struck by the fact that there are some other little startup-y kinds of churches here and there. There's one in Needham, there's one across from Topgolf, right there.
Okay, yeah.
Is there, when you're thinking about church plant, do you ever think about, if you will, approaching another church that has maybe a similar vibe to this and try and leverage that in terms of combining with something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say we'll definitely, whatever town we're in and in that radius, we'll definitely go and talk to
The other
churches.
yeah.
Not only to say how can we work together, but also saying like we're out here to take people from you. We're kind of lucky in the sense that, and you live in Westwood, so like per capita, like I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. Per capita, there's just not many evangelical churches up there. But combining churches it's like a special type of ministry that's not what this will be doing. So we wouldn't approach any churches and say, hey, let's get together. Hey, do you have a good music director? No, but we would. I think it's important to work with them, and if there's evangelistic initiative we could do, yeah. But it's also important to say the opposite thing, which is like, the point of the church plant is to get people who are not in a church to attend. And statistically speaking, people are much more likely to attend a church plant. I would say for whatever reason. The reason is because everyone on that team is acting as a mission. So there's usually, when you've been in church for 120 years, you become more of an institution. A church plant's more of a movement. That's why we want to be a church that plants churches. And so the excitement of sharing the gospel with people, and then friends of friends asking, hey, do you want to go to this church? That's typically where most people who now attend evangelical churches, they're attending a recent plant.
Okay.
And so that's the idea behind it. But another great question. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, from the very beginning, the goal of a church plant for us is not to take people away from our church or to have a campus somewhere where it just makes sense because it's closer to where some of these people live. It's really to start a brand new work of God in an area, and to reach people who aren't in church already and aren't connected to God. That is the only reason we're doing this. It's not to expand anything other than their gospel impact. And so that is the number one goal, and it will always be the number one goal, is to reach people who aren't connected to God and Jesus through a local church. So, yes.
So, John Snow.
I got it.
Maybe I'm getting ahead of my skis here, but let's assume that everything's built up, all right? Everything's cooking with gas, we're going great. We now have a lot more facility to maintain, to keep clean, and so a larger portion of our budget is going to be going to just the mechanics instead of necessarily ministry. So what kind of thoughts or plans have gone into that? Is it just assumed that because we'll be able to have larger congregations that we'll be able to cover that? Or, because there's a lot that's going to go on. Things are going to break down. You got to be ready to fix them.
Yep.
There's a lot more moving parts now.
Yep.
Here, I'll answer that one. Actually, not the financial budget part. You can answer that. But I would say this is really important. The building is a ministry. So because of what we were just saying, the lack of gospel preaching churches, I think it's really important when you're talking about this project, not to say, oh, this is look at all this money just for the building. You cannot put a price on welcoming people into a church. And now the price is expensive because it's expensive to build things, but you can't put the value on that, I guess is what I'm saying. So I would really encourage everyone to be it's a very fair question, yeah, building operations would become a bigger part of the budget maybe, but that is ministry. This is a ministry. So I think that's really important to think about. When you make that mindset shift, I get much more excited, about it even than it was. Does it make sense?
What a great opportunity. Yes.
The practical side of things, though, is a great observation that we haven't talked in detail, just to be honest with you. The only one thing that we have talked about is facilities manager and stuff like that, and even cleaning. That will need to probably increase both of those roles. Because it's a larger building. Hopefully we are being, with this new, with everything, Mike and the building team working to make our spaces more efficient from a usage standpoint. So more security and how people use the building, but then also I think there is some, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, building team people, I think part of the proposal bids, there is some HVAC that will, so I do think will improve in some areas just by being more efficient as we upgrade some of our stuff. But obviously it will increase our building maintenance, and that's a matter of fact that we haven't gotten that far in saying what does that look like and projections, because obviously we don't even know the building yet, but we certainly know that is going to be a part of it and will need to be wrestled with, absolutely. But I would echo Luke, is no one wants to talk about the money it takes to heat a building like this or to keep the lights on or something like that. But that is a reality of having physical space that you can do a faith community with. So again, I'm not excited to spend $500,000 on sprinkler systems, but that's what we need to do to make sure that this building is sustainable throughout the years. But that certainly is a good question that we need to wrestle with as leadership.
Insurance alone.
Yep.
Is gonna
Yep.
go on.
Yep.
Well, I was going to say the insurance.
Yep.
What do you get from an insurance break? Or what's the cost of insuring this place without sprinklers?
Right.
Like,
It's a good question. Yeah.
This is going to be free, I think. The savings is going to be.
Yeah, again, I mean, there's, you lose some, but you also gain some by having, I mean, I can tell you, I'm not an insurance guy. Anybody an insurance guy? I can imagine it would save us some money by having a sprinkler system in here, so, but, yeah. Jeff?
This is an informational question. To follow up with Luke and into the plant that we're doing in that other region. Back in 2019-18, we were trying to plant a church in North Providence. Has that just gone away? Yeah, I know COVID hit and everything, and that kind of just...
Yeah, from my understanding of, I believe, actually, I'm not sure. I know we were partnering with
It wasn't more of a
Envision.
plan, it was more of a partnership.
With Envision Providence.
It was the church that was the same building that Envision was in.
Okay.
It was two separate entities. That,
Shelley, do you have anything on that from the
No,
district?
it was partnership with Envision, and then there was a Cambodian church that met there, and I think we were trying to do a plant that would become more of an international church, because none of the Cambodians live in that area of Providence. But, yeah, I think the church is back to just being some Cambodians. Once COVID hit and we lost the Envision site leaders, yeah.
They are trying to get Envision back. I have not heard recently. Last thing I heard was about a year ago that it would happen in 2025, but that didn't happen. So I will say Envision Providence, it's in the national office's hands right now. So they have to hire someone for that. So it's been in the wings for 2+ years at least. So, great question. Yes.
On the church plant, can you give us some more detail? You mentioned MOA, member of understanding.
Yep.
And will we evaluate, so it's a 3-year plan, but will we evaluate year by year? I mean, we want this to be as successful as we can, and we love these people, but this is a tough thing, and it can go different ways.
Yep.
So do you have a plan to evaluate, what if it becomes a 4-year plan or a 5-year plan, which might be okay, but if you could speak.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I'm going to answer that, and if anybody else, Elder or Luke, wants to answer. But from the very beginning of this conversation, what you just said, and my first warning to Luke and the elders is, if we're not playing out on this and how this all plays out, it will get messy and relationships could be ruined because of it. And I've seen that happen many, many times. And so my commitment to our church plant and to our church as a whole is we will not allow that to happen based on us not being prepared. Now, who knows? I mean, if Luke is a jerk and, I'm just kidding, that would never happen. But but we have a great relationship, but, what we're doing is we are trying to figure out all those messy areas and get it down in writing, agreed upon, signed upon. I would say we've been working the last 6 months. We're just getting going with some of the nuts and bolts of some of that stuff, but we want to make sure that there is an agreement. If something like, if they were not doing well at the end of year 3, certainly we would come to them and say, hey, I don't know if we can help, but maybe we can or whatever. But they are a fully independent church, even from day one. So it's not like outside of the financial commitment, It's not like they're accountable to us and our authority is over them. We want to keep a long-term relationship and partnership with them. Luke and I want to continue to be, kingdom partners together in multiple ways. But we also recognize if everything isn't spelled out, that can get messy and go sideways really quickly. Again, I've seen it multiple times. And so that's the commitment that we've been operating on. I think I speak for the elders in this room. We talk about this a lot and making sure that as much stuff, that anything that we don't have clarity on, get it down and agree on it so we have that. I don't know if any elder or Luke wants to add to that.
Yeah. I have a follow-up question on that. You just made a comment that said, even though we're supporting the plant of the church, they're not answering to the leadership of this church, you're fully independent? Is that the way you understand it?
Yes, correct. They will as a, I don't know the phases, you might be able to help me, Shelley, on that. There will be a phase where the new church will be affiliated, is that the correct word, with the Christian Missionary Alliance? But when they're affiliated, do they have accountability to the district?
Yeah, they'll always have accountability to the
Okay.
district in any of those phases.
Okay. So that church isn't just, I would say, not truly independent, meaning that they would still answer to the district, just like we do.
District, I understand, but not Emmanuel leadership. Even though
Correct.
Emmanuel is planting
Yes.
or sounded like they're not answering to our senior pastor, which is yourself and our elders at this point in time. Is that correct? Okay. So
Yep.
they'll have their own senior pastor, their own elder board, and, okay.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Keep them coming. Great questions.
Lisa Noon. Sorry, I'm new to the church. Relative to funding for the 7.5 million or whatever, I know you were asking for pledges and you're looking for those soon. Is this being fully funded by pledges from the church? And when will you know if you have the $7 million to pay for it?
That's a great question. So at the end of this campaign, we'll have everyone, we're asking everyone to pledge. And that's a pledge, not like, hey, you said this, we're going to take it out of your account or whatever. We will have that. And then, so that will give us some guidelines on what that looks like for us. And what we wanted to make sure of is that we weren't putting God in a box or God, to capture him in some kind of box where we're like, okay, we think we can raise this amount practically, and we're giving space in this season for God to do miracles in all of our hearts and minds, and I've seen it in my own life, and so we never want to put God in a box and say, well, we project we're going to raise this much, and so the rest we're going to see what God does in this season, and then. The reality is, even though, and we've already received some money for this, even before we officially announced it, we do project that some people will give some amounts early on. They call it first fruit giving. But as you guys all know, with that number, there's no way that we're going to be able to fund the beginning of this project, even the design work and blueprints on cash that we don't have. So the first goal would be, as long as that number that is pledged isn't like, I'm not going to give a number because I don't want you to hold it to that. But it's like, whoa, this is like, we are way off. Like I'm talking way off. We might need to push pause or at least figure some things out. We certainly don't anticipate that. But we are working with Orchard Alliance, which is the financial arm of our denomination, Christian Missionary Alliance. We've already had some conversations with them. We know the process. Getting a loan with them is, if everything goes well, it's a 5 to 6 week process with them. There's a couple of advantages working with Orchard Alliance that is really important for us to know. So we'd get a construction loan. I'll answer that part first. We'd get a construction loan. The Orchard Alliance would then, what they do, because they're a Christian Missionary Alliance arm of the denomination, first of all, they recognize our capital campaign. And so they will structure a loan with that in mind. for the first 3 years. And so we'll have money obviously coming in for those first 3 years above and beyond our normal giving that will help pay for that. And so they will structure the loan based on that. And then at the end of those 3 years, whatever is left, they will restructure the loan. And that would be our loan remaining. The elders had agreed months ago that we were open to, if we didn't meet that, we were open to taking out a loan with Orchard Alliance or with a bank. We already have a loan with Orchard Alliance, and so that loan would be put into this new loan. I think it would be a better rate, but also could potentially allow us to pay it off sooner based on the capital campaign and everything. The other thing you need to know about how the capital campaign is, so imagine, 50 new families come in over the next year. We're going to invite them to be a part of this too. So as new people come in, we're going to hopefully add to those pledges over that 3-year period of time. And then at the end of the 3 years, it'll be restructured. Another reason why we like Orchard Alliance, again, a bank is not going to really care less about. We have our property. We have pretty good equity. A bank, all they care to give us a loan is that. Orchard Alliance is going to look at the health of the church. It's rigorous at the end. At the national office, they look at the loan amount, and it's pretty intense, making sure that we can afford this, and they look at all of our numbers and everything. They don't want to take over this property. A bank, it's property, it's worth $12 million. Yeah, we'll take it if you don't pay. Orchard Alliance doesn't see it that way because they're in the church business, and so they want to make sure that they're doing what they can. The other part of Orchard Alliance that we really love is all the money that goes to pay a loan goes back out to fund other churches. So it's if you think about it, yes, we're paying off a loan, but at the same time, we're allowing them to have the money to go and do this for a church like ours in, Alaska or Pennsylvania or wherever it is. And so that is the plan as of right now. Where we're headed. Again, there would be some fleeces laid out if that number was like, we would maybe push pause on that. But we know that we're not going to have the funds to really do the project first and foremost. We just don't have that cash flow there, or at least not right now, at least. So did that answer your question?
100%.
Okay, good. Great questions. Keep them coming. That's why we're here.
Jamie Walter. So you were kind of going over the what and the why tonight, right? And so you kind of reached into the how with the financial. And being a part of Capital Campaign in the past, I've heard some great tips and tricks for creative giving that I think would be helpful for all to hear. Is there a forum coming up or whatever that would kind of provide some of those ideas of sacrificial giving that isn't just like, give us more money from your paycheck?
Yep. Yep. I mean, the info booklets has, I think, 2 or 3 pages with that. Also, we are open to, it's an open invitation to anyone who wants to come to our early commitment dinner on Friday, March 13th. Thanks, Michael. We'll go into more detail a little bit about those creative gifts as well. So if you're interested in that, we'll give you an opportunity to sign up here in a couple weeks for that. We'll go into more detail on that. But you should, in the booklet, you should have this information. There's all different types of ways, because the first thing we always think of is giving. What do I have in cash? What's my bank account? And so these couple of pages, and I would encourage you to have it or to look over that as you pray about this, is thinking outside the box. So everything from property, things that you can sell. Our campaign consultant who lives in Tennessee, when he comes next month, he'll share a couple of stories from his experience, some really cool stories from his church and what that looked like. My wife and I get Dunkin' every day, and so it's one of those things where, $4 or $5 a day doesn't seem like a whole lot, but if you do that for 5 or 6 things, that starts to really get up, and you're like, I could sacrifice that for 3 years. And so we're probably going to buy a better coffee maker, so I don't have to have Dunkin' every day. And so there's things like that on there, stocks, bonds. We have all kinds of opportunities. We encourage you. I think, is there an email contact or something in any of this document about creating?
Not in this document, no.
Okay. Probably the best, if you have questions, if you read through that, you have more specific questions about how this works. I'm going to say, at this point, contact Brooke. Brooke at thisisemmanuel.org, and she'll at least get you in the right direction. But we're setting all that up, so there's, we even have we've set up some accounts with some places so that we can give some, even from stocks and bonds and things like that. But that is a great point. You guys need to hear that it's not just about like your budget now and what you have, and there's a lot of different ways that you can really give to that. So don't just look at your bank account and your income and your expenses and say, oh, this is what we can do. So, yep.
Brooke, are we set up for donor advised funds and ACH transfers and through financial planning, RMDs?
So we've submitted the paperwork to open a Fidelity brokerage
Okay.
account.
All right, great.
And so that will be able to receive anything.
Good, thanks.
Yes. Keep them coming. They're
You
great.
call that a welcome center, but anyone under 18 calls that a gym. So, can
We're
that?
actually not calling it a welcome center.
Oh, okay, all
No,
right.
it's a multi-purpose facility.
There you go, the gym.
Multi-purpose facility.
So,
Don't be fooled
what
by
will the
space.
floor be like, and if we considered putting things on screens and clocks so they don't get destroyed? Can we play ball in there is the point? Can we get, does that thing open up to the point where you can do that?
Only curly.
Can Joe do it for you?
Yes?
Not.
No!
That's what I tell my kids. I can't speak to that. I know it's a big wide open space, and maybe you can shoot hoops if somebody rolled a.
I mean, we certainly would not make it, we would not, it would not be a good retrofit for a gym, or there would be some activities that you could do that you may not be able to do in some other spaces. But there is electronics, there's equipment in there, cafe stuff.
You can play wall.
But it is a multi-purpose building. And so, bring up your point. This isn't just a lobby. It isn't just a welcome center. It is a multi-purpose ministry gathering. We are trying to come up with a name that better describes it. So if you have an idea of that, we've talked about like gathering hub, and so it's a place where people gather. On Sunday mornings, it would feel like a big lobby. And welcome center and all that kind of stuff. But throughout the week, we'll use it. All the furniture, the goal is for it, similar to down here, we assume that we will have, these kind of things. I think I should know this number, but I think 236 or something like that with round tables like this in that space, which is much bigger than this. So it will be flexible. We want a multi-purpose building, not like just one thing that we're using that for. So that's what we're trying to describe it as right now, is multi-purpose building. So it's a great question.
On the point of names too, if you want to call it a gym, if you've got an interesting sounding name and a lot of money, we'll name anything. So, this gym has a good ring to it.
Just long, like.
Amen to that.
It's creative campaign, man.
We'll call it whatever. That's right. That's right. Amen to that.
We're optioning off.
That's right. That's right. Names rights.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, we will have wide open space down here to throw balls for the youth. We're gonna have a giant
Yeah, you're gonna like
area that
quadruple the size of the youth
whatever
pit.
we need to down here too. Don't worry.
Double. Lots of space to put.
As far
balloons.
as the commitments, is more money needed like up front? Because I noticed it's a 3-year commitment, or like we just spread that out, or do you need more like right away?
I would say because of the loan, it's probably not as needed, but I would not discourage you. There are some people who are like, hey, I've got this to sell, or I've got this money, and for tax purposes, I just want to get that off my plate, if that's easier for someone. But, for many people, spreading over 3 years is more doable than thinking an amount, saying, you know, the amount that I and Amy Joe are talking about, we couldn't do that we just couldn't do that in a one-time thing. So it would be easier for us over 3 years and set up a reoccurring payment.
Just
So-
talking with Bob, I did some math. If our members like 475 members in our church.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you to hold that number. I've had several conversations, and we have chosen not to do that. And so this is why I'm asked. This is why, from several conversations, is because we don't want anyone to be influenced one way or the other.
Yeah.
We really believe that this is the work of the Holy Spirit in our hearts. And we want to make sure, like if I said, hey, you know what, we know the amount of families in our church, it's just going to cost, you know, whatever, X amount of dollars per year. That's not a big deal, right? If everybody did that. Well, then in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, that's all I have to do. And maybe the Holy Spirit is asking me to do something different. And so we want to make sure we're not, again, I want to be very careful that we're not starting with what we think. We're just going to surrender all this to the Holy Spirit. And that includes me in that. And so, yes, I have done that internally. There is a document that we decided not to put in the booklet that our campaign consultant gave us that would sort of spell some of that out. And we wanted to, I said we shouldn't have that in there because once we get that number, if you hear the number, it's like, I'm not even close to, I couldn't do that. And like if I win the lottery, you know, we don't want someone to think that way, but we also don't want people to think, oh, I could do that one or that one sounds good. We want the Holy Spirit to really lead in this decision. So, but it's doable.
Yeah.
It's doable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
This might be too big.
Your name?
Ken Campbell.
There we go. Thanks, Kim.
This might be too big a question because it's thinking even beyond this. But we're landlocked, basically. And we're saying we have good relations with Winslow's, with the mechanic over here. Winslow's, I know, his family goes to the church here. If that were to come up for sale, first of all, I'd hate to see it come up for sale in the next 3 years where we're suddenly spending all our money on this and get no chance at it. Are we in that kind of relationship that we have communication with them about, you know, if that ever were to come up for sale, would they be keeping us in the loop and, you know, seeing if there'd be a possibility there?
Anybody want to answer that that knows? I mean, I think we have a great relationship with George Winslow that he would let us know.
He was here digging out with his bulldozer earlier, so
Yeah.
I think that there's
His
definitely
grandkids
that
are
connection, and his grandkids are running the childcare right now.
Yeah.
I think there is enough of that relationship that if he were to want to sell, he would probably have that conversation with us before going elsewhere.
On the other side, they're relatively new owners, so we're still trying to figure out the partnership we have with them. There is potential, going back to the parking situation, whoever brought up parking, there is potential of some of what they're planning that we would have access to Sunday morning. And that's a big question mark, but we're continuing to try to have a healthier relationship with them. I'd be surprised if in the very near future, meaning even the next 5 to 10 years, that would be up for sale because they just took it over, but and they seem to be doing really well. So, but we are in working partnerships with them. They use our parking lot throughout the week. We use theirs some on Sunday mornings a little bit. With some of the things that they're planning, we're hoping that could give us some more parking as well. So, great question. Other questions?
I'm going to ask.
Yep.
Wendy Molster again. So I'm new to coming to this church, so within the past year, thanks to my friends here. I would love to know what you think about, and you've obviously moved around a little bit, you've talked about that in church, and so as a new person, thinking about committing to this, how do I think about that in terms of what your plan is? What
That's
you,
a very good question.
so I get it, it is really about God, and I feel really strongly about that, but it's about God and not about a person.
Yep.
So I'm not trying to I'm not trying to make you God or make
Yep.
you into something
Please
more,
don't.
but there's a lot to
If my wife was here, she would.
Yeah, no, but I just think it's, you're obviously a big draw, and so just curious sort of.
It's a fair question. Some of you have been around. I'll give you the short answer, but if you want to have coffee or dinner, we can hang out and tell the whole story. But when my wife and I, Amy Jo, felt released from the church plant in Chicago, I'm 54 now. I was about 50 at that time. And I told Amy Jo, if we are released from this church, here's where I believe, meaning this is what I believe God is calling me to, and this would be like the end of my ministry, like this is the last phase of my ministry. And so as before we even knew about Church of Emmanuel, we said wherever this next move is, this is a place we want to be able to retire in, and where we feel like the calling and giftedness of what we're going into would allow us to do that. And that was our number one goal. Now, little did I know, because of, and you may not know this, but our church here, even though we've sustained a lot of transition and leadership in the last 18, 19 years with some interim pastors, we desperately, Church of Emmanuel desperately needed someone long-term, because we've been through some major transitions with a lot of pastors. And so I don't think it's by accident that exactly what Church of Emmanuel needed is exactly what we're looking for. And I got grilled on that when I was here. It's like, hey, are you going to be gone in a couple of years? And so, you're new, and I'll just say it, and I'll say it a million times, is that has not changed one bit. Our goal here is to retire here. We love New England. We love Church of Emmanuel. This is a calling, not a career. So, I believe God has called us here, and this is where we have fallen in love. Again, Midwesterners, we love New England. We love Church of Emmanuel. And if we weren't if I wasn't a pastor here, this would be a church that I would love to be a part of. And so our goal is to retire here. So as long as God would have.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
I think it's helpful to know, even before you started previous leadership, like expansion and church planting has been something that's been discussed for a really long time.
Yeah, it's been in the
This
DNA.
church.
Yep.
Like, God's been thinking that way for a long
Yep,
time.
absolutely. Yep.
To me, Jamie and I were talking about that. There was discussions 7+ years ago about building a church building. There's actually ripped this one down, building a building. Spoiler alert, that cost is significantly more than this whole project.
It'd probably be about 20 million probably now.
This is 17 million in today's dollars.
Yeah. So,
But it's like there was through multiple pastors, there's been this you see
Like a vein of.
yes, there's been this stream, and it feels a little bit like, to me, it feels a little bit like King David and Solomon building the temple. It's like King David laid some foundations and some roots, and then Solomon built. And there's a lot that has gone into this church, this community of believers, and there was a lot of fits and starts that didn't work out at the time. Some of it was frustrating. There was things that
It
didn't
seemed
happen.
crazy. Yeah.
Yes, and it was frustrating and aggravating, because it's like, what is happening here? And then a pastor or someone or some key leader would leave, and something would change, and now here we are, and this whole process has actually, I think God is moving this faster than we. I'm panicked a little bit, honestly, because I'm just like, this is not what we said we were gonna do, but doors keep opening up for Luke. Doors have opened up that should not have opened up, and for us, the initial numbers that came in were much higher than these numbers, and then people became available within our church body to work on stuff, and all of a sudden here we are, and so it's not these plans have not been us. This has not
been forced.
Yes, this has not been forced. This is sometimes I feel like me for sure, others have maybe been God's dragging us along like dummies, a little bit, honestly.
Yes, Joe.
Do you have a legal counsel as part of your team? Do you have any kind of lawyers or?
We have 2 people who have offered their assistance when needed, yes, within our church. And we have sort of a unofficial church, what do we call, I don't know if he's, what's that?
Consigliere.
Yeah, I don't know if he's official, but usually when we have any kinds of legal questions, he's our go-to guy. But we have several people who've come to me and said, hey, and this person, I'm not going to put him on the spot, so I'm not going to name him. Some of you probably know who he is. But he came up to me when we announced it last fall at our annual, or last summer at our annual meeting, is however, whenever documents need to be looked at. Our billing team also is very, they live with documents too, but we definitely have several attorneys at our church who have volunteered their time to look through all the documents that are needed. Again, above my pay grade, that you shouldn't trust me to look through them. So. Good question. Yep.
Lisa, I just have a question for clarification. So, the existing mortgage, is that included in the 7.5?
No,
or
that-
above and beyond?
Good question. That would be above and beyond, yes.
And that, the existing mortgage is?
Just under $1 million.
What is that,
Just
Brooke?
under $1 million.
Yeah, it's just under $1 million. I don't, 900 and, I don't know what it is.
980 something.
Yeah, so it's just under $1 million. So we still have 20,
What is it, to 43 or 46?
yeah,
something like that?
yeah, so almost, yeah. So we have a long ways to go on that loan. So we would get a better rate rolling it in. And then also the consideration of, depending on how we pay for this through the capital campaign and stuff, what we did not want to do is say, hey, this is going to be about getting in a new facility, church plant, and debt reduction as well. But it could play out that way with our existing loan. It's a very good question. Other questions? Yes.
As going forward, the congregation, how does the congregation ask the questions? Only Q&A going forward? Are we going to have something on the site? Are they going to have direct access to the building team?
No.
No.
Had a conversation very early on.
No, but has that been thought of
Yes,
as a
I mean-
staff level who would?
From the perspective of the actual construction, yeah, I will protect the building team from that perspective. As you can imagine, hundreds of people have opinions about all that stuff. And so what we always say around here, and I think it's true, is, hopefully there is a trust and health with our leadership. This is why we have those though. Like, everything is transparent. We want to communicate as best as we can with what we know at the time. At the same time, to be able to allow the building team to make decisions, and to there's a trust level that has to be with them to make the decisions based on their expertise. They have the vision. They get what we're trying to do. And so if they are seeking advice outside of their team for something very practical inside, they would start probably with me and then go down from there. One of our goals and one of my promises to you, so hold me accountable to this, church, is we will keep you updated so after the campaign, we will have updates all the time on everything. So on Sunday mornings, it may not be weekly. If there's nothing major to update, we're not going to just come up there every week. It's like, hey, nothing happened this week, just to let you know. But as we start, we'll over-communicate everything. We want to put you guys in the light with everything that's happening, what we're doing. So don't confuse, hey, well, I don't have say on this, but you will be communicated every step of the way. And that is my promise to you. And if you feel like you aren't getting that, come talk to me, and we'll make sure that does happen. But I'm committed to complete transparency and communication through the whole process, from here until everything is done. And we will make opportunities. So with the church plant and the launch team, we'll have a time that we actually, during service, send that team off. And you will know who is a part of that team and all that kind of stuff. So communication on every front as we move forward, yeah.
Typically, a building committee like this way, there'll be phases within the construction process that we'll need to communicate to the church. This is where we are. This is what the next 3 months is going to look like. You'll have to be a little more flexible because this condition is being attended to, and any of those transitions that we would have to go through, we would keep, a building committee would typically, in this scenario, would, you know, Steve would, obviously, the staff would know this, the elders obviously would know this, but there are places where the members and the congregation will want to know, okay, so what's next and where are we and what's changed for the next 90 days, and those types of things are pretty typical to keep people well informed, because it's going to affect the way you come in and out of a building and where the kids are going to go, and that's going to move, it's going to change over a 6 month, 8 month period of time, or whatever that schedule might be, just so you don't feel like lost. Now, what's happening now? We want to be sure you're well informed, so we can give you from structural updates relative to where we are. And building committees do that type of thing, so, yeah.
Did that answer your question, Jeff?
It does. I mean, it does quite, and I agree with you 100%, Doug. I mean, the building should not be a direct source of information, but I also know Kate right now is a communication director at church. That adds a lot to one person's plate. Has that been addressed about staff-wise?
Well,
Regards to-
again, there's a process by which what gets communicated, when it gets communicated. So what Kent was talking to, there'll be a strategy in play, and we'll know that, try to know that, well, enough in advance unless something crazy happened. It's like, hey, in 2 months, here's what's going to start happening. Our entrance is going to change. By the way, we're blessed with an old entrance that was actually the first entrance to our church that will probably be utilized, my guess, at some point again. And so, we'll have enough lead time in that. So it won't necessarily fall all on Kate. It will be a church-wide thing that will make sure that we announce it. Yes, the practical side of like newsletter, bulletin, but from stage we'll communicate it. We might have open settings like this. I am 100% sure that our annual meeting, if you want to write down anybody and everybody, you don't have to be a member to, that is on Sunday night, anybody that's,
June something.
it's the last, thank you, June something, thank you, Luke. The last Sunday, I believe in June.
It's the one before that.
I can't remember what that is, but we will have a big update at that one, and we will utilize, if we feel like we need to have meetings like this, we have a lot to communicate. We have like 15, 20 minutes worth of stuff to communicate. We might say, hey, after church today, hang out if you want to. We're going to update everybody on this. So
June
it will fall on all of us as leadership.
It's June 14th.
Okay, we were wrong. I don't know why okay, June 14th, not the last Sunday of the month. June 14th. So put that on your calendar for our annual meeting on Sunday night. Yes.
Jamie Noon. Hey, I got a question. What is the relationship with the church with the town? Because when you go for permits, I've worked in a lot of different municipalities, and they could really twist you up on what they mandate for you, especially the way you're describing the parking. It could be a big hurdle for you. So has this been presented to the town? Do they know this is coming? Or is there a strong relationship with the town now?
Does anybody with any history want to communicate that or address that? I would say the town is fully aware of who we are and our space. I don't think.
We interact with them on a yearly basis for our building inspection.
Right. But I mean, just presenting a project like this to them, it's going to be not only from a traffic impact, but you have a parking lot. There's a lot of things that they can mandate, and just want to make sure that is up front and get in front of them as quick as possible.
I will say, I think you said it, but you're going to say, why did you, or you're going to quote me. But is it, from your experience, somebody told me Foxborough is much easier, it's an easier town to deal with than some of the others. Was that you?
The state hospital over here, I did all the work over there. That was a fairly easy, they also wanted it cleaned up and
Right.
fixed right away, so, yeah, they were easy to work with. I don't think it's any different than any other town, though, frankly. There's a process to everything, and you gotta get in front of them, and absolutely, but they have not been, at least to my knowledge, they have not been presented with a plan.
No.
Or had any kind of impact meetings like that.
I think that type of feedback, whenever you can present that, I think it'll be beneficial.
100%, it's just too early.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
you're
yeah,
exactly
agreed.
right.
We'll handle it better than the World Cup, so.
There we go, there we go, there we go. That will be our motto, better than the World Cup. Who's paying for all this? We are thinking about I got some t-shirt ideas now. Thank you, Jamie. That's good.
If you follow the dialogue.
Again, above my pay grade, hopefully you're like, yeah, Pastor, that's not what I should be dealing with because I'm not good at that stuff. So we have a team that will, but it's a great point. I mean, again, right now, I don't think we've had a bad relationship where it's like something happened in the very near future, some who've been around for a long time. I don't think there's like bad blood because I've been in that situation with the town. And they delayed us like 3 months moving into a building because of that. So I get that part of it. But from everything I know about the history of Emmanuel and the town, there is no current bad blood where they're like, oh, we're going to stick it to you, you know. Other questions? These are all great, great questions. That's why we're here. Okay, so before we close, I'm going to close out in prayer in a second, but as always, if you have questions, here's what I'm going to ask, or you have concerns, don't talk with someone else about it. Just come to myself or one of our staff or leadership, elders. There's multiple ones here tonight, so maybe you were like, I didn't really want to bring this up in this group setting. Can you help me understand this? You know, my promise to you is that we will communicate with you every step of the way. You will be in the loop as much as we know. When you're not being communicated with, it's probably because we don't know for sure something. If you feel like, you know what, I'm not sure I got it all, come next Tuesday. Probably different questions next Tuesday as well. But we are always available to sit down with you, help you understand the why and the what and the process and all that. It's a lot. And one of my weaknesses is I've been thinking about this for 2 years. We've been talking in eldership and staff for 18 months at least. And so what I think everyone was like, of course they understand that. Like you guys are just getting this information. And so please, if you have questions, don't be like, yeah, I heard this and I don't know this, and talk to other people. Just come directly to us and ask the questions, and we'll try to do the best we can to help you understand it and why we're doing it. Hopefully we move forward. I don't pretend, as Bob sort of reflected on, there were elder meetings where we left and we're like, okay, this is big stuff. But I believe this is where God wants us, and this is, God's paved all of this. And that's why I really can stand in front of you saying I'm confident this is where God has us, because it's been God's hand all over this. And, I really believe when God moves, we want to move with him. So I thank you for coming out tonight. I don't know, maybe you were crazy. You have been in the house for 2.5 days. Just get me somewhere tonight. I just need to go out. So I started that, and yesterday afternoon I was like, I got to get out, and so it took about 2 hours to get close to my car out. But I'm glad you guys are here tonight. I think it does say something to you that you are that you really want to be a part of this, and I hope that you have questions, and it does bring up some stuff in you. But let's work this through together. God's going to do some incredible things, as he always has. Now, not just with Church Emmanuel, but his church, that he promises even the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And so let's honor God's faithfulness in that way by stepping out in faith as well. So Let me pray for us, and then again, leaders, if you want to hang out just for a little bit in case anybody wants to ask questions that you were afraid to ask during it. Let's pray. God, I don't know what else really to say other than we put this all in your hands. God, you put us in a place where if you don't show up, this doesn't happen. And so we believe that's where you want us to be. That you want us to move out in faith beyond our own skill levels. And God, none of us are qualified to do this, but we serve you, and so we're following your lead. So God, do a miracle. Reveal to us, may all the details come into play when they need to come into play, and may we trust you with the results. God, thank you for what you have done, what you are doing, and what you will do through this local church body. Not for our glory, not for anyone's elevation, to make anyone famous, but your son, Jesus Christ. And so it's in his name we pray this. Amen. Thank you guys. Have a good evening. Be safe out there. Again, if you have questions you didn't want to ask publicly, we're around. If you want to take a cookie home, take one home.